Welcome back to Let's Talk. We have Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli here to talk about merit pay for teachers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gary. My pleasure.
You come to us from Somerset County area. Tell me all the towns you represent.
We have 15 towns in the newly formed 16th district. There are 5 Hunter County towns, 7 Somerset County towns. We have the 2 Princetons to become 1 in January from Mercer County, and then there's South Brunswick from Middlesex County. So 15 towns.
Interesting. Merit pay is real big. Tell me, why is merit pay so important, and what's wrong with our schools the way they currently are run?
Well, the reason merit pay is important is because I feel strongly that we've now done the hard part. The hard part was passing the legislation that would reform how we evaluate teachers. So tenure reform was part of that too. But the fact of the matter is, the law of the land is teacher evaluations will take place. And all teachers will receive an evaluation that'll be one of 4 things: ineffective, partially effective, effective, and highly effective. So we've done the hard part.
And you're going to pay them more for being a better teacher? Wow, isn't that like the real world?
It is like the real world, but you know, to not pay them based on their evaluation, in my opinion, flies in the face of reason. It flies in the face of fairness. The person I'm most concerned with, if you and I are both teachers and year over year you continue to get a highly effective and I get partially effective, effective, partially effective, effective, and yet we get the same raise, it's you I worry about over the long term demoralizing, the highly effective teacher. So there's a real opportunity here, I think, to do the right thing, especially since the hard part is now done. The hard part was enacting evaluation for teachers, and we've done that.
Now, the union has agreed to this. We've all come together on this.
Well, the unions didn't have a role per se in the legislation that was recently enacted. I do think the unions should have a role with respect to merit pay. We're seeing some new things take place that they're experimenting with in Newark School District with the $100 million that was donated. My idea is simply this. If you have a $10 million payroll in your school district and the collective bargaining process has agreed on 3%, 3%, and 3% for 3 years, that means there's a pool of $300,000 available for raises. We can say this to the unions: we don't care how you do it, but you have to ensure that the 4 different levels of evaluation get different pay raises. In fact, we have to ensure that those getting ineffective don't get any raise at all. But you, the union, decide how that $300,000 is allocated. And you better make sure that there's this kind of spread between those who get a highly effective versus an effective versus a partially effective.
What are the things that you're looking for when you're determining an effective teacher?
Well, personally, I don't think that standardized tests should be the be-all, end-all to evaluations. I think there should be formative and summative assessment. I think there should be standard tests that are part of it, but not certainly a majority, because parents play a huge role in how successful any teacher can be. But I also think that over the long term, student and parent feedback through surveys is very, very important. I'm not saying that anyone should get their evaluation based on any 12-month period, based on the feedback provided through the student and parent surveys. But over the long term, you will see a trend. That feedback is critically important. Those students and those parents spend 9 months with that teacher. They should play a critical role in providing feedback.
I remember when I was in 6th grade, I always said, you know, I could evaluate these. I know what these is, but no one would believe me. So I guess now we've come to where students may have an insight, may be able to give some feedback as to the level of quality of their teacher. Is that a part of this?
Yes, and I'm not at all suggesting that 2nd and 3rd grader feedback should be the same as 8th grader or 12th grade feedback. I am suggesting that parental feedback should be part of the equation. I know I've taught as an adjunct professor at Seton Hall University, and the feedback you got from the students was critically important to your evaluation with your departmental chair. So we have to be very, very careful in how we do the evaluations. Again, I'm not advocating for standardized tests being the be-all, end-all, because guardians and parents play a large role in how that student performs. Summative and formative assessments can work and should work, and student and parental feedback are important, in addition to, obviously, the observation that takes place by the principal throughout the course of the school year.
When going through this, the governor has used the term hope to describe what's happening in the inner cities. What does this do to give hope to young people in the cities and all over the state of New Jersey?
When people know that something isn't working, what they want are solutions. And in education, we have to be quick not to rush to judgment as to what the solutions are. So we're experimenting. You're seeing a different type of charter schools in some of the inner cities. The Star Ledger reported over the weekend that for the first time we're experimenting with same-sex public schools in Newark. These kind of experimentations lend hope to people who know what we currently have doesn't work. So we've got a number of new principals in the inner city schools. We now have an evaluation system that's going to hopefully weed out all the ineffective teachers. We're experimenting with same-sex schools. This kind of experimentation lends itself to hope, especially when we know what we currently have isn't working.
What about uniforms in the school? Is this a part of it at all? Is that one
You bet
part
it is. In fact, the picture that was in the paper, specific to the same-sex school, the kids, the boys, were in uniform. Now that program opened up this year, and there's an all-girls school that's going to open up in September. The challenges with these kind of experimentations is we won't know for 5 or 10 or 15 years whether or not they worked. But at the same time, we can't afford to wait. We can't afford to wait. But getting back to merit pay, I don't see that as an experiment. It flies in the face of reason and fairness not to give a different kind of raise to those who are evaluated highly effective versus those who get a partially effective or an effective. And by the way, we need to make law of the land. Right now, school districts are not precluded from giving a raise to those rated ineffective. That needs to change.
On another side note, you've been in the legislature for about a year now. How's this experience been for you?
It's a very, very dynamic experience. It's intellectually stimulating. It's amazing to me on any given week how many different issues that you're dealing with. I'm someone who's very results-oriented. I love solving problems. I get great fulfillment out of helping constituents with issues when they call the office each and every day. So it's been an exhilarating experience, and I'm enjoying the challenge.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for being here, Assemblyman.
Thank you, Gary.
And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
I'd like that.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back right after this.